If you want to be truly good at what you're doing, I feel like you have to have a certain level of confidence about your work, even if you're not there yet. I think it's important to have a little bit of that perspective of like, no, I can do this.
You're listening to Talk Doc to Me, a podcast and community dedicated to candid conversations around documentary storytelling. I'm your host and fellow filmmaker, Leah, and today's guest is Lucas Cardoso. Lucas is a director and DP you need to know about. Originally from Brazil and now based in Southern California, he founded Estorias Co, a production company that creates stunning branded documentaries and commercials. His work is eye-catching, meaningful, and makes you wonder, how did he light that? If you're wanting to learn how to step up your gaffing game, this episode is for you. Thanks for being here.
Of course.
So tell me how you first got into filmmaking. What was like the first moment where you're like, this could be cool?
I was working in the admissions office at my alma mater, Master's University up in Santa Clarita. And I was like trying to sell the school to students. And I just realized like I wasn't into video at all at that point. I never did video before in my life. I was 20 years old. So my boss said, hey, if any of you interns, if any of you like kind minions have an idea, just bring it up. Like, don't be afraid to like innovate and think outside the box. So I was like, okay. So I thought like, what if we had videos on each specific department with the professors and the students talking about their experiences? Like nothing crazy, but we didn't have that.
And you were studying what at?
Business marketing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it started out more as like a marketing project than anything, but basically like she was super supportive and then our director was super supportive and they were like, write us a pitch deck. No idea what that was. Create a document. We'll present it to development. We'll think about it. And if it goes through, then if you can recommend as a production company to hire, that would be great. I created the pitch deck. I created like kind of what the project was going to be. I remember the marketing coordinator at the time asked me, oh, what are you thinking for B-roll? And I remember Googling, what is B-roll?
Amazing. Look at you now.
Look at us. I wrote that thing and it went through. I recommended my brother-in-law, Kyle, which shout out to my director. My director was like, his work is great. We'll hire him. And Kyle has a really like deep and meaningful like story center approach to what he does in like the commercial world. He kind of has like
that's how you learned a lot, like directly through him?
100%. So that's the approach that he took. He lit his interviews beautifully. He lit his B-roll and he was thoughtful about every part of the process. And I was on set with him and I was just like, the first time looking at that director's monitor and seeing the magic made like right in front of me, I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, this is the best way to communicate.
So you're 25 now, and so you've been doing filmmaking for 5 years.
Sincerely, it's been since the summer of 2019. So that's 4 years. Whenever I think about it, it's very comforting and humbling because like, it's a career that just takes a long time to get good at. And it just takes a long time to like make stuff that you truly proud of. Like I look at the content that I made, the videos that I made like, 2 years ago and I'm like, wow, I wish I could never see that again. But
that's how it always is. I always say that we should have like a viewing party of all of our original videos just to like feel good about ourselves because we're so hard. Like it's always like you get to the next stage and you're like, oh, like I could be better though. Like you have someone else that you're looking to their work being like, man, like that's amazing. Like I want to be like that. And then you never actually know when you're at that next stage. You can only have like surround yourself with other creatives that are like, no, bro, like your shit's amazing, like, and that's why it's so important to have like people who got your back and be like, no, man, like what you're doing is sick, you know?
Yeah, and I've always had those relationships from early on. If you want to be truly good at what you're doing, I feel like you have to have a certain level of confidence about your work, even if you're not there yet. Yep. So I feel like, when I was starting out, I was like, man, I'm going to do this video and I'm going to crush it. It's going to be the best thing ever. And even though I look back and it clearly sucks, like I think it's important to have a little bit of that perspective of like, no, like I can do this, versus just beating yourself up all the time and being like, well, I'm not there yet. I'm just here,
I'm an aspiring director or I'm an aspiring cinematographer. I'm sorry, I'm not going to hire you if you're an aspiring anything, right? But I wouldn't know the difference if I came to your profile and you just started calling yourself a director or DP, then I'd believe you. Totally. So there's so much power in just like owning it, which is harder. It's easier said than done, but it's important, especially in our work, because there's no like outside validation. A lot of people that I've talked to on the podcast don't have a film background, don't have, schooling, which you don't necessarily need. And it's hard to have that, I am now a filmmaker. energy, you know?
Totally. I think when you truly own it, you inspire people who are close to you. When you're being prideful and a jerk about it, you turn people away. I think that's literally like the line between both, like pride and just owning it, being confident.
So help me fill in the gap between that moment that you decided to make that marketing video and then when you decided to start a production company.
I graduated college, so like I did that whole campaign. It ended up being 3 videos. I like helped produce as much as I possibly could with the little experience that I had. My brother-in-law did most of the heavy lifting, but I basically like, I think I got probably like 10 set days with him. And a year into it, I was almost graduating. I was like, yeah, like this is for sure what I want to do. They moved me from admissions into the marketing department, gave me a Canon 5D Mark IV, and said, here are all these events that we need captured. Go get them. And from that stage, like I had fun capturing the events, but I've always wanted to do like, hey, what if we do a story on a student? What if we do a story on an athlete? What if we like focus on this specific professor? Which is just funny looking back and being like, how in the world did I have that perspective going in, you know?
It's where your curiosity is, you know?
Totally.
It's like, I think back to, I was interested in being a journalist to begin with. And so when I was part of the Panther at Chapman, like the newsroom, I never wanted to do like hard news. Like I always wanted to do the feature stories. Like I wanted to interview the head chef at our cafeteria, or I wanted to I always wanted to profile people. Like I wasn't interested in like the regular news. People who have like that doc brain, I think just have that like natural curiosity toward people.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great point. Basically, like I got hired full time after I graduated to continue to do what I was doing.
At the school?
At the school, yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then a couple of things happened in my life to where it ended up being like a better fit for me to work at an amazing church in Sacramento called Doxa Church that offered me a position, like a full-time position to run their video department, which I say department, but it's really one person.
Isn't that how it usually is? Video
Lucas.
department of one.
Yep.
So so you moved to Sacramento to do that?
Yeah, so I worked at Masters for like 2 months, I think, after graduating, and then moved to Sacramento with my wife. Her family's from there. At that church, they gave me so many resources to do stories on their members and different, like basically like their faith testimonies. The worship pastor there is awesome, and he wanted good live performances recorded.
Yep.
So I was like, oh man, like I have good gear in my hands. My brother-in-law was across the street with his rental company. They were giving me the resources in the space. And so it was a year and a half of just like making amazing content with amazing people.
And doing what you wanted to, you know, like being able to explore the different stories and go a little bit deeper.
They weren't really like an event-driven church. They were more just like, you know, Sunday mornings. But they really loved stories. They loved stories on people. And so it was really cool to have like still the ability to do that. My wife got into nursing school at Cal State San Marcos. So we decided to pack our bags and move again, which was...
All in California though.
All in California.
All in California.
Yep.
Were you nervous at all moving to San Diego, being like, oh, it's like not LA though? Like, did you have any fears like that?
No, because from the get-go, I realized that you don't need to be in LA to make meaningful stories. It's just, you don't. So...
I agree with you, my friend. I'm like, this is why we're here, right? I mean, it's amazing. Our job is to make meaningful stories, and you absolutely don't have to be in a metro area in order to get that done. If anything, if you are located in a unique area, that makes you more unique. You can tell more unique stories. You don't have access to the exact same people and stories as someone else does. So I think there's actually a huge need for filmmakers that are not in the traditional like film markets.
Yep. And so, yeah, we moved down. I worked a corporate job doing video for 4 months. Great company. But just realized very quickly that the whole corporate ordeal was not...
Was that a video department of one again? Or
video
did you
department of one.
Man,
oh, yeah.
Why do people think that video's done by one person?
I have no idea. I think maybe it's reminiscent from like, you know, my parent recorded home videos with...
Right.
With just them, maybe they're fine. But that was a team of 2. know? So,
Yeah. At the company that you were, like the corporate company, were you doing like product videos? Like what were you doing?
yeah, product videos mostly.
Okay.
Yeah, very specific product videos. So, because that's the nature of their business. It was like telecom equipment, so it had to be like to the T, very specific. Basically, like realized that it wasn't for me. I did not want to own my own company. I wanted to work in-house forever. And being in that space was kind of like, okay, I can either like kind of make something out of this, or I can just give it a try. And it was kind of like, we don't have a lot of financial responsibilities right now. We're young, we're healthy. So I just decided to go and start my own production company. So basically what happened was like, I started reaching out to people, started trying to get a couple clients here and there. And when I had 2 months worth of just like freelance work ahead, I quit. It was like some of the best decisions I've ever made.
Why did you think that you would not want to start your own production company?
Because I was an extremely anxious person. I was like an extremely like control freak, anxious. I had to know that something was coming in the next week or the next 2 weeks or the next month. And so I think it's something that's really cool to see in my life. And my wife will even say this, that being a production company owner really forced me to just not be that way and realize that life is not like that for most people. And also to like feel the joy and the thrill of getting a really good budget, you know, or feeling the sense of urgency from having a slow month. Like those are lessons in life that some people never get to experience or learn.
That's poetic, honestly. We started our business, and we wouldn't have our business if it weren't for Matt to have the idea, because I think I'm in the same boat as you. And I still have my days where I am just like, okay, like we are really slow right now. And I know that we're already committed to these monthly expenses, not only for ourselves personally, but for the business. And I'm learning all this business stuff along the way too, because I got my degree in documentary production. Running a business is a whole different thing, right? It teaches you to kind of like be okay and like live in the moment instead of like drive yourself crazy. Because if you drive yourself crazy, then you're actually not doing the things that you need to do in order to grow your business. You're driving yourself crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you're digging yourself a bigger hole.
I started out just freelance under my own name, 1099. So the guy that I started Estorias with, Mike, great guy. He was like, hey, what if we start a production company and put a name behind it and try to basically like give it a step up from just, and people make whole careers in their own names. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I think like in the storytelling point, when you're seeking stories and when you're, and when brands approach you to like tell stories of their customers or clients or whatever. And I love running projects top to bottom. So like we started Estorias, and yeah, if it wasn't for Mike, I wouldn't have thought in that direction. I'd have been like, oh, I guess I can just, do things here. And it opened a lot of opportunities from the get-go, like having a name.
Totally.
That alone opened so many doors, which is super cool.
So when you started your production company, like what were those initial steps? Like what was your like thought process to, okay, like I quit my corporate job. This is my main income. How am I going to make this work? Like what were some of those first things that you set up for yourself?
Yeah, so I focused hard on getting a retainer, which took me, I think like 2 or 3 months.
Can you explain retainer just in case somebody doesn't know what it is?
So a retainer essentially is a contract that you make with another party that they are going to give you X amount of money over a certain period of time. So say like you get a retainer with a fitness like center, like a gym, they'll pay you like whatever, how many $1,000 for 6 months, and then they will be evaluated after that. So a retainer basically gives you a little bit of stability, and like kind of sometimes the floor, sometimes the retainer's great, and it's kind of like almost all you need.
Yeah. So you started with retainers. What were you like pitching? Like what was the retainer that you were pitching to people?
Yeah, so the first one was an editing retainer with an agency in Riverside. So that was just me. And then the second one was actually with the church that I currently attend. They had a ton of like needs. And so I was just like, hey, I think it's better if we just organize this over the next 6 months. So that really helped me like in that first year to have a little bit of sanity.
Yeah. I'm just curious because we did a little bit of retainers too before, and this was like, we kind of have a background in like social media marketing, or we did stuff like per month, but I think like per 6 months is really interesting because it just takes so long to make good content. So I'm curious, like what, you don't have to go into like crazy specifics, but like what goes into like a 6-month retainer, for example?
I mean, it is just when the client has a list of things that they need and it's like all out the front, like all in the first lap of the race. You know what I'm saying? They're like, we need all these things. Sometimes it's just helpful to say, instead of doing, hey, we'll do a 10 shoot day. Sometimes it's helpful to say like, hey, like let's space this out and do a little bit at a time, and we'll batch shoot some days and we'll like batch shoot some other days. But for the most part, it's just like spacing it out over time so the quality doesn't suffer essentially. And usually people understand that pretty well.
Yeah.
That helped. And then I also got in through my DP, who works at a church in Sun Valley in LA. They were doing a feature documentary. So they had me on as a grip.
What kind of tips do you have for people that are covering their local church, or like how to stand out from maybe some other content that you've seen like churches make?
Yeah, I think a lot of content that churches make ends up being more about like how good the church is, you know, like, and it ends up being about the organization, where the stories that you're actually trying to tell are about what God is doing in the life of a certain person. And where was that person before? Where are they now? And so I think it's like, and honestly, that applies across the board, focusing more on the person and driving everything back to Christ rather than just trying to make some sort of like church name.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I feel like that translates well to businesses too, right?
100%.
So instead of talking about why whatever company is so amazing and this company, that, talk about like one of the people, you know? And it's just such a simple concept, but I feel like so many people get like wrapped up in it of like, well, like we need to explain this, or like, aren't people gonna want to know who we are? Or like, I don't know, there's like weird feelings around trying to get everything across.
Yep.
And then if you try and get everything across, you're actually not communicating anything. And like people relate to other people.
Yeah, I get work almost every month with this golf company based in Orange County called Sunday Swagger, and their marketing director reached out to me and he was like, hey, we're thinking about starting this Against the Grain series on YouTube. And so we filmed a Dodgers pitcher, we filmed like a NASCAR pit crew member, we filmed like a junior golf prodigy, we've told stories of like professional pickleball player.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Very cool.
And they're all ambassadors of their brand.
Yeah.
We followed a caddy for 2 days in the Corn Ferry Tour in Savannah, and all the stories are focused on who they are, where they were, what they were seeking in life, how they got it, and then how fashion allows them to express like that struggle, how fashion allows them to express their individuality, who they are. And they're wearing the polos throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
So it's just like...
And how did they find you?
He was my roommate.
Oh, okay. Small world.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah, reach out to the people next to you, honestly. Like, you literally never know. Even, that's why, like, posting your work is important. You literally never know. Especially graduating from college, like, people go all over the place.
Very true, very true. Yeah, you got to just be top of mind for people. People are so hung up in their own worlds that they, like, don't remember. So you have to, like, keep posting, keep telling people what you're doing. Because sooner or later, like, one of your friends is going to be doing something really cool, and they're going to know you instead of like another filmmaker.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that was like, my buddy was like, I can't think of anyone else but you, and it's not a brag, it's just literally because just top of mind. Like,
Yeah.
That it's more of like, you know, we're all trying to conserve energy, we're humans. So it's just like, who's the first person? Are they good? Great, let's do it.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
we were friends before too, which helped.
Producing different things, like I will literally just sit for a second and think. I'll be like, okay, this job is for this. And I'm like, okay, off the top of my head, like who do I think would be best? And I go off the top of my head first. Like, yes, I have a database that I like keep track of people that I've Googled once or something, or reach out to me once. But like at the end of the day, I am thinking of the people that I am seeing on social all the time, or people that I see in person, or just who's made a good impression on me. Like it just always is that way.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
You talk about how you do your fun lighting stuff in interviews, because I feel like specifically in documentary, like your stuff stands out to me on Instagram.
Thank you. I'm just going to piggyback. This was going to be my transition, so thank you for this. I agree with you, and I would echo exactly what you're saying. So I'm all ears.
So interviews are like my bread and butter. The reason why is because like my DP, Nate, he's an interview monster. Like the stuff that he sets up on whenever we're shooting, it just blows me away every time. And I was really into interviews before meeting him too. The reason why is because an interview for me is a portrait of a person. So when I'm setting up an interview, I want to set it up as if, like, say, Nate and I joke that like we get into rooms and it's like the Marine Corps, like getting into like a space. We're just like, all right, like there's this window, there's that window. What are we shooting light through? What is like, and we transform a room and we have so much fun. So interview wise, first thing is 90% of the time we're looking for a Rembrandt lighting. So the loop on the nose and the triangle on the other side. Here's a tip. If you close your left eye or your right eye, depending on where you're keying from, but if you close your left eye and you bring your thumb till it reaches your peripheral, so like I can see it right here. If I'm looking this way and I set my light right here, it will be perfect 45.
Hot tip.
Hot tip.
We're going to try that next time.
Guess where I learned it?
Where?
TikTok. Nate learned it on TikTok.
That's
and
amazing.
He passed it on to me.
That's amazing.
And then it's all about like adjusting also the height of the light. And then the other thing is ratios. So making sure that your background is not too far behind your subject. I think we found that like usually the lit part of the face, we try to match to the hottest part of the background and try to keep things at tabs within that. What Nate and I do is we'll lift the room and make it usually flatter than we aim it to be in post. I've had lighting setups where I was like, oh my gosh, this looks so sourcey. That's another thing. Sourcey lighting looks like there's a light there. Like you look at something, it's like, oh, there's a light dome somewhere in there. Lighting that's not sourcey looks natural, right? The room's just doing what it's doing. To make your light not sourcey, a lot of times you have to make your foreground and your background on a ratio level, you have to bring them closer to a 1-1 rather than just making one really hotter than the other.
And how do you achieve that?
False color. Just monitor your false color. Make sure that you have that 65 to 70 IRE on skin tones and make sure that you're reaching something similar in the background. I mean, obviously, if you're going for a super moody, dark, just, like night scene, that's going to be different.
But for the traditional, like during the daytime interview setup.
Yep. You're usually going to have it pretty flat throughout.
What if you were to like draw a diagram of how you do things? Like, do you want to talk through like where you usually put things or any like little tips that you and your DP have learned over setting up a lot of interviews?
Yeah. Your brightest light doesn't need to be your key light all the time. That's one thing. A lot of times, like we usually roll with a 600D and like 3 300Ds or 2 600Ds and 3 300Ds or something like that. Basically, we look for windows and we'll use our brightest light to shoot through a window and create that nice afternoon, glowy, like.
And so the light is physically outside.
Light's
usually.
physically outside.
And you are shooting through the window. So it's like you're just adding more sunlight.
Basically.
What light do you like? What's like the least powerful light you can use?
I think you can do that with a 300 or like an Amaran 200D. The problem is that like with the 600, you really get that punchy like shape. And it also helps lift the room.
Yeah.
Versus the 300, you kind of just get like the window streaks, but exposure wise, I've found like, unless the room is really dark, the 300 won't do like a lot through the window.
What kind of diffusion or like what are you putting on the light when you're shooting it through a window?
So if I'm shooting it through a window, I'm usually just doing like a Fresnel. Yeah, so I put a Fresnel on the light, just shoot it bare through the window because you want it to be hard. So a Fresnel is like a lens. So essentially you have the aperture f10 for the 600. You can use the Fresnel 2X on the 600. Just if it's at 100%, you'll see smoke. So I use the reflector a lot. Like sometimes I'll just use the reflector. All that you're doing with the Fresnel is like when the sun comes through the window, the reflector kind of is just a big spread. The Fresnel behaves more like the sun, where it's like more controlled. And a lot of times we'll use the same lens, like the same Fresnel. Most of our interviews are either a light dome through Magic Cloth. Magic Cloth is a diffusion material. So it's the equivalent to like a full diffusion plus a little bit more. So worth it. Sometimes we'll literally just shoot like a 300D through a reflector, like just through the reflector that comes with it, through Magic Cloth. And if you position that light right and your ratios are good, it looks amazing. It's soft, it's nice. Sometimes if we want like less softness, we just don't use the Magic Cloth. We just go like light dome. I would say 90% of our interview setups is a 600D through a window, and then a 300D using the thumb rule through Magic Cloth, either on the light dome or just bare with the reflector. And sometimes we call it the ghost. It's a little, no secret, but when we don't have a lot of space and we just have like a light dome, we'll put the Magic Cloth over the light dome. Like it's a, you know, when you put like a something over yourself and you're like plug holes through it in your desk. And we'll put the Magic Cloth over the light dome and let it drape. That looks really good too.
That's the ghost.
That's the ghost.
How much time do you budget for your interview setup? Like communicating with a client, you know, hey, we're going to set up an interview. How long do you take usually?
I usually try, so an hour is pretty quick for us, but we'll set up in an hour if we need to. Usually I try to do an hour and a half. That's like kind of like, if I can get an hour and a half, that's amazing. Anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. Like the documentary that I was in where Nate was DPing and I was gripping and gaffing, sometimes it took 3 hours to set up an interview. The room's the boss. You want the room to do what the room does. So like one time we were in a room in LA and the room was enormous. And we were shooting an RE orbiter, which is like an RE light, like pretty big, pretty bulky, a 600D and a light mat 8, which is like this big panel through a 6x Magic Cloth just to like try to get close to what the room was doing. So like obviously in those setups where the room can be really difficult, and so you need to move things around, you need to like set deck. That's not even talking about set deck. You need to try different positionings. Like one time we got in a house and we learned like the day before that the house was in an HGTV show, like a decorating show. So we literally got there, put a chair down and put a couple lights through the window, did our light dome through 6x Magic Cloth, and boom, it was done.
I like what you said about like the room is the boss. So let's say you're a documentary filmmaker, you don't have time to location scout all the time. Sometimes you're in a new location and you have to get ready quick, or sometimes even doing like a branded shoot, you might not get the chance to do a location scout. So you are really like judging a room when you see it. Like what are those things that you look for? Like what's the order? What's the military process that you talked about?
This room, for example, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a window here and there's a window behind us. If I shoot straight against the window, that's a lot that I'm fighting. I basically follow the lazy path in these situations, basically find the most aesthetic area that I can control the best. And windows are just a huge asset to make it look good. I don't have any sort of obsession with windows. It's just like, it's so easy to make a room look good shooting through it.
So you love windows, is what you're saying.
I love windows, man. They're just, love them. Basically, like get in a room, find the most filmic, aesthetic corner of it, sit someone down and start pointing your camera. If you don't start pointing your camera and you're on the crunch and you just keep trying to look for some corner without pointing your camera, you're in for a bitter surprise whenever you've found something. Because when you found something without pointing your camera, you didn't find anything most of the time.
So get your camera out early because the camera...
Find the frame.
Find the frame.
And also just like stick to it. If you don't have time, find your frame and stick to it. You can make other interviews look gorgeous.
Yeah.
A lot of,
Which of your interviews that you've done is like your favorite, or like your most proud or funny story, or kind of however you want to take it, but like if we want to dissect like an interview setup?
There was an interview that we did for a cycling documentary in Pennsylvania. We were gonna do it in the living room, and then we went to do B-roll of one of the cyclists and their trainer, and his basement had this like beautiful burgundy hardwood floor and kind of tallish ceilings. It had windows all the way through it. It was a long room. And I looked at my DP and I was like, dude, I think we got to do the interview here. I remember we did a 600 outside shooting on the floor. It was winter. And we shot it on the floor, and it created a streak across the entire room, across the redwood floor. And it just looked like the most gorgeous winter light ever. And then we added a 300 to like kind of supplement it on the rest of the room. And exposure was the exact same, and it looked the exact same from sunrise to sunset, because we were
Wow.
there the entire day.
Wow.
We just looked at each other like we made some magic today. It was fun.
What kind of advice do you have for people that are maybe working together for the first time, like a director and gaffer, or like DP and gaffer? Like how do you navigate that relationship? Maybe if you don't have like a great relationship to begin with, or you're just meeting them, or I don't know, someone that you don't have like a bond with to begin with.
Well, make sure you get along. Like, funny story, in that same interview day, Nate and I forgot the tripod the day before in the middle of the road in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And it was
We've all left a tripod somewhere. One of mine is in Sri Lanka somewhere. Don't know where it is. I really miss it. It's beautiful. Wish I had it. It's a perfect travel tripod. It's gone.
So
Anyways.
we get to the interview the next day and we look at each other, where's the tripod? And Nate found it because he took a picture, like a BTS photo of it the day before. We went back there, Amish country in Pennsylvania, it was still there in the same place, just frozen. And so we
Wow.
left it to thaw. We thawed our tripod by the fire while we set up.
Wait, that's amazing.
Yep, Nate and I really get along. We were traveling together for 5 days. The crew is just the two of us. If we didn't get along, we would have started some crazy blame game. So I think the main thing is getting along. The other thing that I would say is find out what inspires them the most and what kind of content they want to create. Because when people work together well, I usually, especially in the director DP scenario, I found that it's because the DP wants it almost as bad as the director to make the vision come to life, and to see the story through, and the director wants the DP to be stoked. I'm a DP too. Believe me, like, a frustrated DP is one of the most annoying things ever. When I'm on the DP chair though, I want the director to feel so stoked, like, oh my gosh, I'm getting my story. So really it's just being a teammate, like being a team player.
And making sure you have that same vision, like you were saying. Like,
Yep.
That the same, your creative like energy has to match. Because if your vibe is totally different, then you're not going to be able to kind of maybe see things in the same way or get excited by the same thing.
And sometimes, like, say there's a project where, the director wants it to be 4:3, locked off, every shot's on a tripod, and that's how he's going to accomplish his story. The DP goes into it because they didn't communicate, thinking that he wants like 239, like anamorphic handheld, like kind of pointing the camera all over the place. They're going to clash, and they're not going to be stoked. Now, if the director helps the DP to see the value in that format, and the DP gets stoked about it, then you're in for a treat.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me more about the cycling documentary that you're
Yeah.
working on.
So 2 weeks ago, we wrapped production. We were in Pennsylvania for a week 6 months ago doing character development. It was basically 8 cyclists who raised $500,000 towards anti-human trafficking efforts for a specific organization called Zoe International. One of the main problems with human trafficking is lack of awareness. People think that it's something that they can't do anything about. So these guys are raising awareness and raising funds to rescue and restore girls, essentially, in LA, Thailand, Tokyo, and I think a couple other regions. But basically the documentary tracks, like, it starts with character development around Christmas time, which is really fun. It's them with their families, getting to know each cyclist, which is, each one of them is an amazing personality. And then it goes into basically 6 months later, it's a race across America. So it's a team of 8, 4 cyclists and 2 12-hour shifts for 6 days. And basically, like, you cycle for 15 minutes, rest for 45, cycle for 15, rest for 45 for 12 hours. And then your team changes.
Wow.
And those guys are putting themselves through the ringer, just to raise money for those girls, and it's serious. The race is awesome as a cyclist. It's like, some people say that it's, the Super Bowl of like endurance racing, but those guys aren't there to have a good time. Like, it's a really hard race, and they all have like the girls' names written in their arms. I mean, the end of the race was one of the most emotional experiences I've ever had. So it's just a beautiful story about how ordinary people can join efforts to tackle an extraordinary problem.
Yeah. And how, you said production's wrapped?
Production's
Pretty much.
Well,
there's always a little door that's always open, right? So
there's a couple interviews and a couple moments that we hope to capture. So
how did that project come about?
So the in-house guy at that organization, his name is Mason. I DM'd him, I'm just like, hey, like I like your work, like we should get in touch and chat. And so we started talking, and he was like, hey, by the way, like I looked at the work that you did at your school, and I like the documentary style of it. We're doing this Race Across America thing. Like, what would it take to make a documentary on it? And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, so I sent him a quote, and then his boss was like, let me get a hold of this. And she kind of like basically took the role of like an executive producer and did a phenomenal job at it. So yeah, the organization ended up funding like the entire documentary, which was a huge blessing. And they ended up getting other deliverables out of it too, which is cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Are you going to edit it? Who's going to edit it?
I am editing it.
Ooh, nice. As a director, DP, and editor also, we wear a lot of different hats. Like, how do you know which project is worth doing that role? Or how do you place yourself and think of yourself like, oh, like this one would be good for me to direct. This one would be better for me to DP, or this makes sense for me to edit. Like what's give me like an example, or like how do you talk to yourself of like, how can I morph myself into like the right person for that job, or know when it's not the right fit for you?
This project, for example, there's so many moving pieces, and like Nate and I were together for 5 days in Pennsylvania, and then we like raced with the team for 6 days with so many production days. Like I shot most of it with the storyline in my head and the documents, and like I wrote a visualizer. So I think I'm kind of in a good position to just go in and edit it.
And you'll probably save time because you were in the field, you know your shots, like you know what you're trying to accomplish.
Like if I was to explain to someone, like, hey, so when we were in Kansas, like I think that was day 4, you know, like at 1 p.m, like this happened. It was really cool. Can you find it? You know, like yeah.
Do you take like when you're out in the field like that, are you taking field notes every day, or like what is your process to help your life be easier later on?
I'm writing questions throughout the entire time. We do a lot of live interviews, like literally talking about interview setups. Like a lot of those in that cycling race, there were no setups. Like all that I talked about lighting, that was out the window during that week, because we're not bringing a 600D and shooting it in the middle of Colorado, you know? Yeah, in this case, it was like the questions that I was writing to each writer as the days went by. That was really helpful. And then the guy Reagan, who was doing social media and like BTS and driving us, which bless his heart, that whole week, he actually did memory notes on the entire week. Like whenever something would happen, he would type it down on his notes.
You didn't ask him to do it.
I didn't ask him to do it, and he just did it. And so we have all that. And also they wanted daily recaps, like little like 1 minute recaps of what happened. So I actually ended up doing full, like basically my own version of dailies, like every week at night.
Yeah.
Which was super helpful.
Yeah. I think your story is so amazing, because I feel like we talked about how you moved to the US. You weren't necessarily thinking about filmmaking, but then it was introduced to you, and then it's only been like 4 years of you like fully dedicating to it. And I feel like you're so knowledgeable, and I really admire the work that you do. And I feel like a lot of people maybe that are listening are thinking about like, oh, like it would be cool to start a production company, or like, you know, but they don't know like some of the things, or they feel like insecure about it, or like they don't know where to start, or they don't think that it's like possible. But I feel like with your story, like you just like went for it. Like do you have tips or like philosophies that you've fallen back on to like help you kind of keep moving and grooving and like improving your craft?
Yeah. First one is meet with people that are where you want to be. Like just meet with them, learn what it took to find out. Like find out what it took for them to like get there. And 99% of the times they'll tell you that they're not there, you know? Which is a very humbling like experience. So I think number 1, meet with people. Number 2, I was very, very, very fortunate. All glory to God for how quick I was able to learn what I learned, because I was given gear and space to try things. A lot of people are not given those opportunities. Like I was working full time. I had a budget. You know, when I got hired at the church, we bought a Ursa Mini G2. We got a 600D. Like we had like, you know, whatever, 8 C stands. If you don't have that equipment right by you, find a way to get your hands on something. Like go to Lens Rentals and get your Christmas money, like $200 or whatever. Rent a camera, a lens, and a tripod, and like go shoot something. You gotta have like a mix of like finesse and grit, you know, to just go out and shoot your own stuff, regardless of what it takes to do that. So, and then the third thing is get on other people's sets. Like meet people, shoot your own stuff, and find a way to get on other people's sets for free. If you have to pay to do it, like just find a way. I think those are the 3 things that like I would say just fell on my lap, to be honest. Like when I look back, besides the meeting with people part, I was pretty intentional about that, but the other 2 are just like so important.
Yeah Amazing. Any other like resources or I don't know, like tips that you wish you knew like before starting a business or even like becoming a documentary filmmaker that you think might be helpful to somebody else?
I was really scared of like showing my work, show it to anyone and everyone. When I learned that lesson, there's been times where I look back and I'm like, why did I send that person that frame? You know, like they're not even in the industry. And I was like, dude, I just did this. It's really cool. But you literally never know. Like be excited about it and share it. The other thing too is just, I remember a conversation that I had with my brother-in-law, and he was like, yeah, like I just heard from this other really experienced DP that it takes 5 years for you to make work that at the end of it, you're like, wow, almost nothing about this sucks. And I'm in year 4, and I can definitely say that the closer I get to year 5, like and 5 is not some magic number that could happen before or after. But I think the main point of what he said is that like remembering that it takes time for you to achieve the style of your favorite director, you know, of your favorite cinematographer. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen like overnight.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah,
thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
That's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for listening and or watching. I hope you found this useful. If you did, give us a rating. This will really help us grow our audience and better serve you. Also, if you love talking docs, join our weekly Discord Wednesdays at 5 p.m. PST, where we discuss a doc of the week and check in with each other. Talk soon.